I've always believed that small towns hold secrets. Places where the streets are quiet after dark, where everyone knows your name, and where the silence isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it's heavy. Sometimes it's hiding something. I grew up in towns like that, tight-knit, friendly, but with just enough shadows to make you wonder what happens when no one's watching. And tonight, I want to share with you 3 true stories. Stories that never left me. Stories that still creep back into my mind in the middle of the night when the wind sounds just a little too much like whispering. They didn't just scare me, they stuck to me. And maybe, after tonight, they'll stick to you too. The first story happened when I was about 11 years old. We were living in this little town in northern Michigan, population maybe 1,200. Not much to do except ride your bike, skip rocks at the lake, or sneak into places you shouldn't be. There was this old farmhouse on the edge of town. Everyone called it the Marlow house. No one had lived there in decades. The paint was peeled down to the bones, the windows were boarded up, and the front porch sagged like it was tired of holding secrets. But it was a dare. If you wanted to prove yourself, you went in. I remember that summer afternoon, like it's etched into my bones. Me, my cousin Jenna, and our friend Kyle, sneaking around the back, because that's where one of the boards had fallen off a window. We slipped through one by one. Inside, the air was thick. Not just with dust, but with something else, like time had stopped and gone stale. The wallpaper was curling off the walls, and broken furniture sat like skeletons in every room. There was a feeling, I swear, the moment we walked in like we were being watched. Kyle was the first to mention it. He pointed to the staircase and said, "Did you hear that?" We all froze. It sounded like someone or something was on the second floor. Slow, dragging footsteps. Then a thump, like something heavy dropped. Jenna grabbed my arm so hard her nails left marks. We should have run. We should have turned around and gone out the way we came. But instead, Kyle, being Kyle, said we should go check it out. So we climbed those stairs, hearts pounding, floorboards creaking under our weight. At the top, there was a hallway with doors on each side. We opened one, empty. Opened another, empty. But the third, there was something different about the third. The door wouldn't budge at first. Then Kyle shoved it, and it flew open with a crack like a gunshot. Inside was a child's bedroom. Still decorated, frozen in time. The wallpaper had cartoon animals. A tiny bed with rotting sheets. A dollhouse in the corner. And on the wall, written in what looked like red chalk, were the words, "I told you not to leave me." None of us spoke. I couldn't move. Then, suddenly, the closet door in the corner creaked open by itself. I wish I could tell you we stayed. I wish I could explain what we saw. But I can't. Because we ran. Full tilt. Screaming all the way back to town. We never told anyone. Who would believe a bunch of kids saying a ghost wrote on the wall? A few years later, the Marlow house burned to the ground. They said it was arson. But the night it burned, I remember hearing a scream echo through the trees. Not just any scream. It was high-pitched, guttural, desperate. Like someone had been waiting a long time to be heard. I still hear it in my dreams sometimes. That voice, so full of pain, so full of rage. And every now and then I think about the words on that wall, and I wonder if whatever was in that closet never left. The second story is harder for me to talk about, because it involves someone I loved, someone I trusted, and it shattered what little sense of safety I had. This happened in a town called Elmore, tiny place in West Virginia. My mom had just remarried, and we moved there for her new husband's job. I didn't know anyone, and I hated it at first. But then I met Thomas. Thomas lived 2 houses down. He was 15, 2 years older than me, but he treated me like I mattered. We'd hang out after school, listen to music, talk about comic books, walk around town. He made me laugh. He made me feel seen. And when you're 13, in a new place, feeling invisible, that's everything. But Thomas had a secret. There was an abandoned church at the edge of the woods near Elmore. Burned out in a fire back in the 60s. The skeleton of the building was still there. Charred beams, broken pews, and a cross that leaned sideways like even it had given up. People said it was cursed. There were stories that if you went there at night, you'd hear voices. that people who went alone didn't come back the same. But Thomas didn't believe in that stuff. He said it was just superstition. One Friday night, he asked if I wanted to go with him. Just to see it. Just for fun. I didn't want to seem scared, so I said yes. We biked out just before dusk. The sky was a deep orange when we got there. The place was more horrifying than I imagined. Blackened stone. Ash still clinging to what was once an altar. As soon as I stepped inside, my chest felt tight. Not from fear, exactly. It was like the air didn't want me there. Thomas walked ahead, laughing, daring whatever ghost might be listening to come out and show itself. I stayed back near the door. And that's when I saw it, etched into the wall behind the altar. A symbol, like an eye inside a triangle, but the lines were jagged, like someone had scratched it with shaking hands. I asked Thomas what it was. He just shrugged. Then he said, "Want to see something crazy?" I followed him into what used to be the basement. The steps groaned under our weight. It was pitch black, except for our flashlights. The room below smelled like mold and rusted metal. In the center was a table or an altar, and on it, I swear, were bones. Small ones, arranged in a circle. I turned to leave. I told him it wasn't funny anymore. That's when he told me the truth. Thomas had been coming here for months. Not for fun. Not for dares. He said he'd been seeing someone or something in his dreams. A woman, dressed in black, eyes like holes, whispering secrets only he could hear.
He said she told him things.
Told him how to make people like him. How to make them stay. How to never be alone again. He looked at me with eyes I didn't recognize. And he said, "You understand me, don't you? You're like me." I ran. I didn't look back. I left my bike and sprinted through the woods until I found the road. I told my mom. She thought I was making it up. Thought it was drama. But 2 weeks later, Thomas disappeared. His parents said he ran away. But I don't believe that. Because sometimes, late at night, I hear his voice whispering my name. I hear it in the wind. In the trees. Like he's still out there waiting for me to come back. The third story, this one is the worst. Not because it's the scariest, but because it made me question everything. What's real, what's imagined, and what we're willing to ignore just to sleep at night. This happened in a town called Crossfield, down in Louisiana. I was in college at the time, staying with a friend over break. Her family owned a little house near the Bayou. Peaceful, quiet, the kind of place you go to forget the world exists. Her grandmother lived nearby. Sweet old woman, tiny, always humming under her breath like she had music trapped in her bones. She warned us not to go walking past the marsh after dark. Said there were lights out there that didn't belong to this world. We laughed. Thought it was just old folks' tales. Will-o'-the-wisps, swamp gas, whatever. But one night, we were out on the back porch. Drinking, talking, being idiots.
And we saw it.
A light. Floating just above the reeds. Blue-white, pulsing gently. Not like a flashlight. Not like anything I'd seen before. It hovered, then darted, then stopped again. My friend dared me to go check it out. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I didn't believe what I was seeing. Maybe I just wanted to feel something unexplainable. I walked down the narrow path, flashlight in hand. The air was thick with mosquitoes and the smell of rot. But the light kept floating just out of reach, like it wanted me to follow. I must have walked half a mile before I realized I couldn't hear anything anymore.
No frags. No crickets.
Just silence. Thick and unnatural. The light dipped low, and I stepped into a clearing. That's when I saw her. A woman. Standing in the water. Pale skin, long,